Right, that's about enough fanning around for one morning. Today is the 1st of February. Thank fuck. Fuck you, January. Who the fuck ever thought January would be a good idea? Oh my fucking god, what a painful month. Probably the worst month of the year. So be glad it's gone. January is typically when we're all half hungover from Christmas, you know, financially, emotionally, physically, just drained from Christmas, basically. The financial pressure of, you know, having to buy presents or feeling like we have to buy presents and all that fucking nonsense. I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, you're hungover from Christmas for pretty much the whole month of January. It's the depths of fucking winter. And to compound both of those things, it's the month when your New Year's resolutions fall flat on their face. It's the month when you realise that you can't do all those things that you thought you'd do. And you're kind of left feeling a bit shit. And it's downhill for the next fucking 11 months. Okay? So, fuck that nonsense, okay? January's behind us. Look at this month as the start of the year. Look at every fucking month as the start of the year. Do you know that kind of way? Next month is the start of spring. So if you really want to fucking make something of 2021, my advice is, regardless of how January has gone by you, let go of it. It's the 1st of February today, so let's fucking kind of go, okay, we made a balls of the first attempt, but, you know, so be it. Let's start over. Let's reevaluate our diet, reevaluate how our fucking life is going. In Ireland at the minute, it's a bit weird as well because we're all in this fucking level 5 national lockdown shit again. So it's hard to get a kind of a routine. We all thought the kids would be back to school. They're not. We all thought we'd be all back to work. We're not. So everything is still up in the air. But try not to fucking... And again, when I'm speaking like this, as always, I'm speaking to myself. Frano, try not to get fucking bogged down in all the change and try not to get fucking demoralised by the fact that you don't have a routine and stop looking at all the fucking negatives. Time to start focusing on the positives. I've got a couple, I have to say, so I'm going to share those with you. This morning, to start it off, I got an email that I haven't got in a couple of years, and that email was from Patreon to say that some cunt had thrown me a few quid. So shout out to friend of the show and future guest and my little brother Aidan out in the land of sand, out in Doha in Qatar, or Qatar as he keeps telling me it's called. Fair fucking play, brother. He is the first patron of the whole off the lead thing in, you know, years, because the whole thing fell by the wayside and all the rest of it. So he's the first kind of new patron. Shout out to the first ever new patron, the first person to give me a few quid on Patreon, or in general basically, for my efforts for this podcast. That award goes to Keelan Ward. Shout out to Keelan, past guest and friend of the show. He's not a past guest, future guest if he wants to come on, and friend of the show. Hi Keelan. His brother actually, fucking the physio ward, the other brother, the other ward, he said he'd come on. I must actually reach out to that cunt. If you're listening, fucking send me an email and let's get this shit on the road. So that's the first bit of good news. Patreon's up and running. Patreon.com/off the lead. Jump on, give me what you can, and we'll fucking move this whole thing forward. Don't be worrying, and again, I'm saying this to myself, don't be worrying about me not continuing to do this and for your money to be for nothing. Not that it's for nothing, because you're paying me retrospectively for work that I've already done. But anyway, what I have to try and remind myself is I've committed to this fucking full time. So, like, before, when I did it and it all kind of fell by the wayside, I was doing it part-time on top of trying to fucking start a business and create employment, and then the fucking second kid came along and, you know, all the rest of it, life got in the way. But now I'm fully fucking committed to this. And if it comes, for whatever reason, you know, worst case scenario, that I have to pull back from it and not have it as my full-time commitment, or that I just fucking pare back and don't do it at all, for whatever reason, this time I'll have learned from my previous mistake and I'll pause all contributions. I'm sure I can do that. I'm sure if you've committed to giving me a few quid a month, that if I hit pause, that money doesn't come out of your account. But anyway, I also mentioned recently on a couple of episodes ago about the idea of being able to give me an amount. So instead of you committing to giving me a $5 or a $10 a month or whatever it is that you can afford, instead of doing that, that you could just give me 50 quid. Or 20 quid, or again, whatever you could afford. But it'd be a once-off payment. Now, I went into the Patreon app there. It's all new. I'm not very familiar with it. I have a Patreon creators page, but I also have a Patreon patronage page, if that's what it's called, whereby I pay different people for the material that I consume. So the two of them get confusing, and it's all new, and like anything that's new, you don't really know your arse from your elbow. So look, I could have this better prepared. I could have known exactly what people could and couldn't do. I haven't done that, okay? And I'm a cunt for not doing stuff like that. But the first step in doing something like that is doing it badly, which is what I'm attempting to do here. But anyway, more good news. Adrian Gamble joins me on the podcast this evening. For anybody who knows me personally, you won't know who the fuck Adrian Gamble is, but you might know who Archie is, or Archibald. Archie's joining me this evening, and I can't fucking wait. I cannot fucking wait. And I've just been thinking about this over the last couple of days. Like, my conversations typically range between 2 and 4 hours. And there's a bit of work that goes into them, I'm not going to lie. There's time more than anything. There's obviously the 2 to 4 hours, but there's the asking them to come on, there's the bit of back and forth, there's the bit of, I don't fucking think I'd have anything to say that everybody says. There's that you have to kind of overcome. You have to make them comfortable with coming on in the first place and all the rest of it. You have to allay all their fears or all the worries that they may or may not have. Then you have to set a date and a time, and then you have to, say to yourself that I'm not going to be around this evening or whatever else. And there's a bit to it. But in relation to recording it, Jesus, it's so easy. Once I've the laptop set up, once I've the mic set up, once I've done a bit of a sound check, once all that is kind of done, okay, once the prep work is done, once the guest has been not put through their paces, but once they've been put through their paces as to do's and don'ts and all the rest of it, once we hit record, I can just go, and I just chat to the cunt for fucking a couple of hours, and it's so easy. But 2 to 4 hours content in relation to the solos, like, to put that into perspective, I did 4 podcasts there one day last week. I think it was on Friday. I did 4 episodes. I think it was episode 15 to 19 inclusive. Okay. Now those 4 episodes were about half an hour each, so it was about 2 hours of content. That literally took me the entire day to do. Between sitting down and recording them and coming in and out for lunch and getting the van set up, and it was the first time I'd really sat down and tried to do a day's work in the van. So I had internet problems, I had electricity problems, I had heating problems, I had humidity problems, condensation problems, I had all sorts of fucking shit going on. But it just goes to show that in order to produce 15 minutes of a solo, half an hour's work could go into it. But in order to produce 2 to 4 hours of content and a conversation, aside from all the bits and pieces beforehand and after the fact, it's just a matter of hitting record. It's great. Like, I mean, in order for me to do 4 hours of content at current output, it'd be 2 days. But I'll do that 3 or 4 hours content over the course of 2 or 3 hours, or 4 hours obviously, just chatting to a fucking mate of mine basically about God knows what. I've absolutely no idea what we're going to talk about. The man, as far as I can tell, is a welder by trade, but he's kind of gone through the ranks, and maybe or maybe not, he'll explain this himself later. But hi Archie listens. He may or may not explain this himself, but my understanding of what he does is he's a welder by trade, but as I said, he's gone up the ranks. My understanding is he is off the tools, as the saying goes, which basically means if you're a carpenter and you're off the tools, it means you've got a carpentry business and you've carpenters working under you, and you don't pick up a saw or hammer and a nail from one end of the week to the next. And my understanding is that Archie has reached that level. He has a team of welders underneath them who do basically all the work. His job is to tell them what to do and to ensure that they do it up to a reasonable standard. And my understanding also is that it's largely in pharmaceutical companies that he does his work. So it's pipe work. If you can close your eyes and with your mind's eye picture a pharmaceutical company, what I see is like vats, big stainless steel tanks of stuff scattered all over the place, connected to each other through a fucking multitude of pipes and cables and bits and pieces. And my understanding is that what Archie does is he supervises the welding together of all these pipes and formwork, maybe what it's called. Fuck knows. I'll let Archie talk about that himself this evening. But anyway, I'm fucking excited. It's the first of the month. I've got a guest coming on. I'm literally mid-recording a solo episode. I'm in my fucking COVID-safe mobile podcast studio. I've the 2 mics set up, I've the laptop set up, I've a fucking wireless mouse and keyboard here set up, I've a tablet, I've 2 sets of headphones. I can't use the fucking headphones for this episode though this evening. I need a little connector thing, which I don't have. It's in the fucking post. I've ordered it, but more than likely because of this fucking Brexit ball ache, it has to fucking go through customs or some shit. I don't fucking know. I don't have it, and odds of me having it by this evening are slim to none. But anyway, doesn't matter. Don't need it. We'll get on. Have the chairs in, have the place heated, the place is lit, I have enough electricity. And yeah, I can't fucking wait. I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to just sit down and have a normal fucking conversation with another human being. Anthony Murphy, I do believe, was the last one. And it's funny because I was only thinking about this last night. Anthony Murphy was my last guest. And I think he was on in, was it late September, early October, thereabouts. But since then, so in November, December and January, so in the last 3 months, I've uploaded just over 60 of these solo episodes. Just over 60 15 to half an hour long monologues of me doing nothing else but talking. Clearing my mind, organising my fucking brain, whatever way you want to phrase it. That's what I've been doing flat out now for the last 3 months. So it's going to be interesting to see what my conversation skills are like now that I actually get to sit down and talk to another human being. I mean, the last thing I want to do is invite somebody on and for me to do all the fucking talking. Like that would defeat the fucking purpose. And one thing that I get asked more than anything about the conversations that I have with people is, how do you do it, Frano? Like, where do you think of the questions? And how do you just keep the whole thing going? And it's funny because as far as I'm concerned, the skill that I have, if you could even call it that, or the ability that I have to engage with a person for 4 hours, say, is my ability to shut the fuck up. It's not my ability to think of interesting questions or to say interesting things and keep the whole show on the road. My ability is in shutting the fuck up, because when I'm talking to somebody, I'm mad to talk. I'm mad to kind of jump in, but I have to go, no, you've got a guest on. This is a fucking two-way conversation. This should be 50-50 or 60-40 at best, and typically in favour of the fucking guest, okay? Because when I get somebody on, I want them to talk. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be afraid of fucking speaking my mind and picking their brain and all the rest of it, but the goal is to get as much out of that human being as is humanly possible for my benefit, the person being interviewed's benefit, and the benefit of everybody fucking listening. But anyway, Archibald has agreed to come on. He's coming on this evening. Fiach Reward is coming on possibly this week, maybe next week. I must send that cunt an email, actually. I'll send him an email now before he even gets a chance to listen to this and say, oi, cunt, what's the fucking story? I'll get him on. He's a physio by trade. The other guy who's agreed to come on is Bernard Smith. Hi, Bernard. Bernard listens. Bernard is Ultimate... Fuck, I should really have that rhymed off, shouldn't I? UltimateConditioning.ie. That's Mr. Bernard Smith. Bernard Smith is a fucking super athlete. Like his fucking friend Graham Mackin, past guest and friend of the show. I have to have that mad bastard back on. Jesus fucking wept. His most recent madness wasn't a success. I suppose that's one way of saying it, poor cunt. But listen, I'm going to contact him now. I'm going to text him now and get him on, and we'll talk about what he's been at since I was chatting to him last. He pulled his finger out of his hole since I was chatting to him last and set up Chasing Breaking. So check out Graham Mackin on Facebook and Instagram. I'm sure under Chasing Breaking is his brand, I suppose, if you want to call it. I was fucking pushing on him very hard to do that exact thing when he was on, back in the day, fucking nearly 3 years ago now. But what I was saying to him was, pull your fucking finger out and get a proper, professional athlete page or whatever the fuck it is. And he was hemming and hawing over doing it, and he didn't want to because, if memory serves me correctly, he didn't want to come across as a bit of a dick, basically. Like, who do you think you are with your own fucking personal athlete fucking page thing? There's people out there doing bigger and better things than me, and they don't have pages. And I said, stop. Just stop. Do it, man. Do it and reap the fucking benefits of it, and don't be fucking second guessing yourself and worrying about what other people think. And that's fucking good general life advice right there, if ever there was one. Fucking get on with it and don't be worrying about what other people think. 40 minutes, lads. Patreon.com/off the lead. Archibald will be with me this evening, and I shall chat to you very soon.